It's a topic that keeps coming up, but well, let's tackle it. First question from some guy person. The Strix Halo parts were designed for Steam Machines 2.0. Convince me otherwise. Strix Halo is basically a gigantic APU that AMD is making that is kind of very console-like in some respects, in that it's pairing a gigantic GPU with a much smaller CPU. Typically doesn't happen. I guess there's going to be an AI MPU element in it as well. This question from Paul Trainer. Hey, hi DF, do you think now is the time for a new Steam box? For the 700 quid price of a PS5 Pro, could a SteamOS living room mini PC be built? If not, how much? If not, how much do you imagine a similarly spec'd box would need to cost? Oliver.
Yes, well, Strix Halo certainly does seem like a pretty meaty choice for a Steam Machine console. In particular, when you think about a Steam Machine console that would kind of try to reach that, like, I don't know, Alienware Alpha kind of form factor, that kind of more
Yeah.
console-like form factor, I definitely think that for sure those like SoCs, those APUs are a better fit for those devices in all likelihood. In terms of the Steam Box thing, I think that's just the Steam Box concept in general is like really appetizing to me, especially after spending a lot of time in Bazite, a lot of time with SteamOS. It's just a really good operating system for a console. But moving on to the question, I think if you're expecting something equivalent to a PS5 Pro for a PS5 Pro price tag, you're probably going to be disappointed because you're not really dealing with an SoC. You don't have a unified memory model. There's more complexity, more cost. You don't have the potential for a subsidy either. I don't think there is a subsidy. And also the scale of what you're producing is much less, I think, as well, than what Sony is trying to achieve with the PlayStation 5 Pro. They're going to produce many millions of units of that. You're not going to see that same scale. You're not going to see that same efficiency here. So I just don't think you're going to see the same price. Judging in terms of like the PC market at the moment, I think maybe you could achieve something pretty similar for like, I don't know, $1,000 seems like a pretty safe price point to pick, maybe a little bit less there. But I don't think that in this case there'd be that much contrast between the Steam Box price and a PC price here, because you're dealing with basically the same components as far as we're aware. I don't think there'd be anything too special for the Steam Box in this case. And in all likelihood, Windows OEM keys are going to be really cheap as well for those OEMs to produce and for you to obtain separately if you do choose to go that route. So it's not really a situation where you'd expect a lot of price divergence, especially price divergence that would favor that Steam Box. I think it'd be basically the same price. And in that case, I think the PS5 Pro would have a substantial edge in terms of price performance, but that's kind of almost not really the point of these PC devices, or indeed the Steam Box as it would be termed here. I think it's more that ecosystem that you're looking for, possibly on the Steam Box side of things, that you wouldn't be getting on the console side.
I was just looking at the specs, and 120 watt TDP for Strix Halo, 64 gigs of memory, 16 Zen 5 cores, 40 compute units RDNA 3.5. So just, immediately I'd say that the power window and also the compute unit count suggests that it's kind of more base PlayStation 5 level than Pro.
Right.
So I do think they could do a pretty good console with it, but it probably would be more of a base PlayStation 5 competitor. And in that respect, suddenly you're looking at a much more constrained budget. If they could get a machine out for $500 similar to a PS5, that would be quite an achievement. And as to whether it would be able to run as well as a PlayStation 5, who knows? Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I am intrigued by the concept in general. I think the Steam Deck's nice feature set and kind of ease of use of working is a great strength that could be applied to a little box that you put next to a television. I'd be curious about other things about it, like, okay, like what is its, yeah, like does it come with a controller? Like, what controllers does it per default come with if they were to try and sell it? I'll also be kind of curious about, that we've seen, Oliver is going to be taking a look at this, but we've seen like the Steam OS kind of applied to other hardware. What other things would they then improve upon from there to make the desktop experience even more compelling on a television, because this right now focused on this handheld device, right? And one of the cool things about Steam Deck is you can like sleep it with a button, like how you're sleeping something with this device. I think it's a really great idea, and I'd actually love to see Valve do it. I'm just like curious how they would solve some issues, and I don't think it would go price performance competitor with PS5. I think they just can't do that for a variety of reasons. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, a tricky one for sure. I mean, I do think it's probably going to be the case that there will be a push towards living room friendly PCs, and there was a push back in the day. I mean, Oliver pointed out the Alienware Alpha. There's also the Alienware X51. I just think maybe that model forward, Windows has got to get itself sorted out in terms of being a more versatile operating system for devices like, a living room PC. You just know that Valve is going to do the same thing. And I'm not sure whether it's down to the likes of Valve to be producing hardware, but they can certainly provide the software and the operating system, and they've got the ecosystem. So I think maybe it's sort of Steam Machines 2.0 could be somewhat similar to Steam Machines 1.0. The difference being this time that a lot of the problems have already been solved, and it's just down to the market to produce the hardware.